Hi, this is GrandmaGloria. And as you can guess, all of this is green. So we are celebrating St. Patrick's Day. And on St. Patrick's Day, most of us, the only thing we know to cook is the cabbage and the corned beef. But I want to come with something different that is totally delicious. It is called an Irish lamb chop stew. It's very simple to make. I got my lamb here. First thing, you want a heavy skillet. And we're going to be doing most of our cooking over there. So I'm going to put my skillet on the stove. I'm going to start this very high and hot, but I'm going to season both sides of my lamb chops with salt and pepper. There's no certain measurements, just a little bit. I'm going to turn those over. I'm going to get my skillet going. I'm going to tell you how much oil I'm going to put in it, so it won't take me long to do this. I'm going to finish turning this over. This is a totally delicious stew. And you want to start your flame up high. So we're going to move over to the stove. And I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. And we're going to let these chops get brown, oops, a little too much, on both sides. So we're going to put them in like so. I want all of them. This is about 1.5 pounds. I got that all. It's going to cook for about maybe 2 minutes to brown on one side. And get ready. Once they brown on both sides, we're going to take them out and saute some onions and some flour. This is 2 tablespoons of flour. This is 1.5 cups of celery. And this is 1 cup of carrots. And when I put my onions in, this is rosemary. About just a small handful of rosemary. One thing about Irish soup, or stew, they don't use a lot of different herbs or different flavors like your garlic and your seasoned salts and your all those type of spices that we normally put in stew. Is very simple. But one thing we are going to use, once we put the onions in, a little bit of butter, we use chicken stock. You can use the chicken stock or you can use the beef. But I like chicken so well, I chose the chicken stock. And it is 3-4 cups of this, and I put an extra 5 cups because I want it to come up to the very top. Okay, so I'm going to remove my hat and put it over here, and we're going to do some serious cooking. Let's see if this is brown. No, I want it to be brown. I want it to be brown. The fires come up as high as can go. Okay, as you can see, we have the lamb chop brown on both sides. I'm going to put it in my cooking pot. know you see a little burntness there, but that's fine. That's what we want. So it can brown the onions. We're going to brown the onions. I'll turn this down a little bit. Then this is when I'm going to put my flour, which is 2 tablespoons, and it's going to make the thickness in the stew. And this is I'm going to stir this for about a minute. We don't want the flour to burn because you would taste the burntness. In the stew. So at this point, we're going to add the chicken stock. I'm going to cook this until it's 2 cups. 3. 4. If I need any more, once I put it on top of there, then we'll add that. That was 4 cups of chicken stock. When this comes to a boil, then at this point, this is when I'm going to add.
So you brought rosemary. What's the eye on?
It's on high. We're gonna bring this stock to a boil. Once it's come to a boil, we'll add it here. But since the meat is on, lamb chops is situated in the pot. We are going to add our vegetables. This is the carrots, couple carrots. Then we're going to add celery, a cup of celery. And once they come to a boil, we're going to put all that on top. I won't forget my rosemary. I'm going to wait till that get a little. So we're going to wait till that come to a boil. And the rosemary is under a teaspoon. Just going to put a little dry rosemary. That's one of the main ingredients that goes into the stew. So we're going to wait until that boils.
So why would do you put a little rosemary on top of the meat or no?
No, we don't. We will be adding a little green onions at the very end, but just for color. But this is totally a delicious stew. We're going to wait till this come to a boil. Then we're going to transfer it over here. And once it's in here, we're going to let that simmer. We're not going to put the potatoes in, which is your baby potatoes. They don't go in until these vegetables and all of this simmer for an hour and a half. Then you put your potatoes in. If you put the potatoes in when you put all the other vegetables in and the meat trying to tenderize, your potatoes would be mashed potatoes. So the potatoes go in at the very last, and you want the baby Dutch yellow potatoes. It may say on the bag good for everything but stews, but it will work. Now this has come to a boil.
I see that, yes.
And we're going to this skillet is too heavy for me to pick up, so for right now, so I'm going to dip this out. Like it. Now the liquid should cover. I think I can do it now. That's just enough. We're going to let this simmer for Oh, one thing I forgot. It did call for a tablespoon of butter. Okay, let's go melt in that. Now this is going to simmer for an hour and a half. Oops, sorry about that. Got that on about 3. I'm gonna cover that, and then we're gonna go to the next process. We'll see you in a little while. Hi, you guys. While the lamb chop stew is cooking, simmering for an hour and a half, I'm going to show you what goes with that. It's a very simple bread, and it is called the baking soda Irish bread.
The what?
The baking soda Irish bread. Baking soda. So what we're going to do, we're going to sift 4 cups of flour. I'm gonna put 2 in at a time. 4 cups of flour. That's 2. But I also want to sift in my baking soda, which is 1 teaspoon of baking soda. One teaspoon of salt. And I'm not going to go over with this. We're going to sift this to make sure. You want to sift in a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of salt. You're going to sift your flour. 2 more cups of my flour. That's 3. And this is 4. Move this over to the side. That's underneath this cup. Now we're going to sift everything go in the bowl. Now that's out the way. It's out the way. We need a cup and 3/3 cups of buttermilk. So I'm gonna do my 1 cup freeze buttermilk. I don't want to forget the 1/3, but I want to put this in and kind of stir this up just a little bit before I put the 3/4 cups. So it's a cup and 3/4 cups of buttermilk. Now I'm going to do the 3/4 cups of buttermilk. Okay, 3/4 cups of buttermilk. So that's done. I'm going to mix this up as much as I can, but before it's over with, I'm going to have to use my hands, because most good cooks, the spoon cannot do it all. But before I do that, I'm gonna make sure I go over and wash my hands, because I don't want it to be shown that I've touched the salt box and flour and all of that, and then wash my hands. So, what I'm going to do, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to wash my hands. As they say, use soap. My water's already warm. And when you put your hands in dough, it tends to cling to your hands. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little flour on my hands. Keep them from sticking. My hands was washed, so I can put that back in there. So, here we go. You want to make sure, and while I'm doing this, it's kneading the dough at the same time. And get all of that out of there. I'll flip the bowl over once we get all of that out. Once you do this, oh goodness, sorry about that. I think I better back off a little bit. Okay. Let me show you have a little bit, just a tiny bit. Jesus. It'll come off. Okay. I'm going to flip this. This is some black pepper on it. This was already clean, so I'm just going to do this. And basically, a little more flour. Hands are getting sticky. Now I got one more thing to do before I put it in the baking skillet. So I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. I'm ready to put the bread in the oven, but it calls for a heavy skillet. It's an iron skillet, and we want to coat it with some spray. And before you put it in it, you don't just put it on the next skillet. They require you to line the bottom of the skillet, wax paper, or that other type paper that they use, but I don't use wax paper. And they also teach you how you can fold it a certain way and do all of that, but that was too complicated for me. So this is a simple way. I'm just going to cut all around the circle, and I'm going to put it in the bottom of the pan. And something about that size. Even if it don't, the bread is not going to cover the whole thing, so it don't have to be as large as mine, as long as it's. And then we're going to put this in like this, and you can see that it's kind of taking this up. And this is basically all you have to do. But before we do this, we're going to cut like across on top. And then we're going to go the other way. And we're going to put this in.
So that cuts you made, those were just halfway through, a little, about a...
Just a little bit.
Okay.
So when we put our butter on it, and plus the fact, it gives it an opportunity to cook inside as well. So we're going to cook this for 30 minutes on 425. But we need to cover this with foil paper for the first 30 minutes. And after that 30 minutes, we're going to remove the foil, and we're going to put it back in the oven, uncovered, for 15 minutes. So, at 425, 30 minutes, covered with foil. Yeah, my oven is set at 425 for 30 minutes. Put my timer on, we'll check it. So this is the Irish baking soda bread that goes delicious with your lamb stew. I'll see you in a few minutes. Now the Irish soda bread have been in for 30 minutes, covered with foil. Remove it. Okay, this is the way it looks when you take it out for the first 30 minutes. Now we're gonna put it back in for 15 minutes. Same degrees. 15 minutes. Okay, the bread is now out of the oven. And we're gonna put butter on the very top while it's nice and hot. Okay, now we're going to remove it out of the skillet, put it on a cooling rack. Okay, the last of the stew. I'm going to remove my lamb chop from this stew because I need to remove the bones. So I'm going to remove my lamb chop, let them cool down, take the bone out of them. But this is not where I'm going to stop. Remember when I said the potatoes need to go in the last thing. It's so nice and tender, the bone just rising up out of it. So, now, here are my potatoes, already nice, washed them earlier. We're gonna put them in our stew. The liquid have to cover. It's not covering them completely. So we started off with 5 cups and I had 4. I'm going to just pour a little more, about a half of a cup in that. This is the last process. We're going to put this back on the stove, turn it up medium high for about 30 minutes for the potatoes to get nice and tender. So 30 minutes for the potatoes get nice and tender. We'll put it on 5. We're gonna let this cool down, debone it, return it back to this stew, and you're gonna see the finished product. I'm going to break this up in smaller pieces. I'm going to debone it, taking the bone out. I'm gonna remove some fat. It's already nice and tender. We're gonna take the bones out. We don't want to be eating the soup and chewing down on bone. Okay. We got enough fat in it already, so we want to move the fat from the lamb chop. Make sure, I think I had put some fat in the plate. I want to make sure this is all taken out. Now we're going to put this in here. The last product is going to, process is going to be 15 minutes. On the stove. I'm going to add a little green onions here, because that's celery. You're going to go 15 minutes on the stove, and then we're going to show it to you in a bowl with the bread cover. But before we do that, I want to slice my bread. It's been cooling. It was in a... Okay, I'm going to reduce that heat. And then we're going to slice the bread. It's cool. Right here. So when you're eating your nice stew, this is a heavy bread. All breads are not the same, but I am sure. See the texture of it? Yeah, so I want to get my bread knife. I have the wrong knife here. So you can see that the texture is not like a dinner roll. This is a heavy bread. So when you eat it with your stew, you want to have in slices of like so. And a lot of times people just do this once a year. But you can do this all through the year. So let's just dip this up. Potatoes are nice and tender. And I believe because of the heavy bread, back in the days, people would do something like this that most young people don't do. They have their, let me get an individual bowl. I don't want to make a demonstration. Since you have all of that nice liquid, back in my days, some carrots. People would take the bread and they would literally dip into the sauce. Let's give it a try. This is totally delicious. Just don't wait one time of the year. I love this bread. Make this any time of the year. This is totally delicious. And if you feel that you don't care for lamb, you don't have to use lamb. Let me show you what I did on last night. Same recipe, but I'm using different meats. Look how beautiful that is. That's beef. That's roast. Prime roast. And I made the same recipe as I made with the lamb. So you can use any type of meats that you want. But please enjoy this beautiful recipe. Lamb soup, stew, and also baking soda bread. And I will see you next time. Please enjoy.